Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something really significant, something happening out in our oceans that doesn't always get the spotlight: bycatch. People often call it a silent killer of marine biodiversity, and, well, there are some pretty stark reasons for that label. So our mission today is to really unpack this. We want to explore what bycatch actually is, how industrial fishing plays a role, which methods cause the most problems, and also which animals are suffering the most. Critically, we'll also look at what science and tech are doing to try and fix it, or at least reduce the harm. Think of this as your shortcut to getting up to speed on a really vital environmental issue.
Okay, so basically, bycatch is any marine life that gets caught unintentionally when fishers are targeting something else. They might be going after tuna or cod or maybe shrimp, but the gear they use, the nets, the hooks, well, they don't really discriminate, do they?
No, they just catch whatever's there.
Exactly, and the result is just it's devastating for wildlife. We're talking sharks getting tangled up in long lines, sea turtles drowning in trawl nets, even dolphins caught in these huge purse seines. It's a really tragic side effect of, well, unsustainable fishing.
Yeah.
And it's pushing a lot of species much closer to extinction than they should be.
Okay, so let's dig into that a bit more. How do these different fishing methods actually contribute? Because it's not just one type of fishing, right?
No, definitely not. Different gear types have different impacts. Take trawl nets, for instance. These are enormous nets, often cone-shaped, and they're literally dragged along the seabed.
Right.
They're very effective for catching things that live on the bottom, like shrimp, but they scoop up pretty much everything else down there, too.
That's all.
Bottom-dwelling sharps, rays, you name it.
Everything in their path.
Pretty much. Then you have long lines. Picture this. Miles and miles of fishing line just floating there, with thousands of baited hooks. They're set for species like tuna or swordfish, but those baited hooks, they're like magnets for endangered sharks and also seabirds that dive for the bait.
I can see how that would be a huge problem for birds.
Oh, absolutely. And then there are gill nets. These are basically like underwater walls of netting. They're designed so fish swim into them and get caught by their gills, hence the name, but they're often almost invisible underwater.
So other animals just swim right into them.
Exactly. Air-breathing animals like sea turtles and dolphins get entangled very easily. And finally, purse seines. These are just massive nets used to encircle whole schools of fish. Often they're used around something called fish aggregating devices, or FADs.
FADs, what are those exactly?
Well, they can be surprisingly simple, sometimes just floating objects. But they naturally attract fish, creating like a little ecosystem hotspot. So the nets go around the FAD, catching the target fish like tuna, but also scooping up everything else attracted to it: juvenile sharks, turtles, marine mammals, the lot.
So the FAD itself becomes a trap, in a way.
In a sense, yeah. And it's worth mentioning some fleets has even been known to intentionally set these huge nets around pods of dolphins because tuna often swim with them.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's banned in some places now, thankfully, but it still happens elsewhere. It just shows you the scale of the challenge.
Wow. That really puts it into perspective.
Yeah.
And thinking about all those different methods, it makes you wonder, who are the main victims here? Which species are really bearing the brunt of this?
Well, the list is long, sadly, but some groups are hit particularly hard. Sharks are definitely a major concern. Many species, think hammerheads, blue sharks, they grow very slowly and they don't reproduce very quickly.
Right, so they can't bounce back easily.
Exactly. Their populations just can't sustain heavy losses from being caught accidentally. Some are just thrown back dead. Others, well, they're finned, and the fins are sold illegally. It's a grim picture.
That's horrific. What about turtles?
Sea turtles, yes. Species like loggerheads, green turtles, the huge leatherbacks, they get caught very often, especially in shrimp trawls and on long lines. And because they need to breathe air, even if they're only tangled for a short while, it can often lead to drowning.
Just awful. And dolphins, you mentioned them with the purse seines.
Marine mammals like dolphins and porpoises, they often swim near the fish that commercial boats are after. So yeah, they're really vulnerable, especially to those purse seines set around FADs, or as I mentioned, even around the dolphins themselves.
Okay, and seabirds too.
Yes, seabirds, birds like albatrosses and petrels. They see the baited hooks on the long lines from the air, dive down to grab what looks like an easy meal.
And get snagged.
And then they drown. The numbers are just staggering. It's estimated over 300,000 seabirds die this way every single year.
300,000. That's almost unimaginable, just seabirds alone.
Yeah. Imagine an albatross, that incredible wingspan, just diving for bait and getting caught. It really puts a face to the statistics.
It really does. And, okay, it's easy to focus on the tragedy for the individual animals, which is terrible enough, but zooming out, what does all this bycatch actually mean for the ocean as a whole, and maybe even for us? What are the bigger consequences?
That's a really important question. It definitely goes way beyond the individual animals lost. Ecologically, taking out top predators like sharks has massive knock-on effects. It can disrupt the entire food web, something scientists call a trophic cascade. Basically, removing a key player throws the whole system out of balance.
Okay, a trophic cascade, so it ripples downwards.
Precisely. And similarly, when turtle populations decline, it impacts the habitats they help maintain, like seagrass beds and coral reefs. They play a role in keeping those healthy.
I see. So it's not just about losing species, it's about losing their function in the ecosystem.
Exactly. And there are economic impacts too. Over time, these ecological imbalances, they can actually lead to smaller catches for the fisheries themselves. Fewer healthy fish stocks mean, eventually, that the livelihoods of coastal communities that depend on fishing are threatened. It really makes you question the sustainability of how we're using these resources.
Right. It impacts the very industry causing it in the long
Yeah.
run. So this all sounds pretty dire. But is there hope? Are things being done? Let's talk about solutions, innovations, because there must be some positive developments.
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely good news and a lot of work being done. On the technology front, we're seeing some really smart bycatch reducing technologies. For example, switching from traditional J-shaped hooks to circle hooks on long lines.
Circle hooks, how they help?
Well, their shape makes it much more likely that a fish gets hooked in the corner of the mouth, which is fine for the target catch, but it makes it much harder for sea turtles to swallow the hook or get badly injured. It significantly reduces turtle bycatch.
Ah, clever. What else?
Then there are TED's turtle excluder devices. These are basically like escape hatches built into trawl nets.
Right, you mentioned those earlier. Like a little grid?
Sort of, yeah. It's a grid that lets shrimp or fish pass through into the back of the net, but larger animals like turtles bump against it and are guided out through an escape opening.
And they actually work.
They do. Modern TEDs can be over 90% effective for larger turtles, and they've been refined so they don't reduce the target catch too much. It shows conservation and fishing can work together.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. For marine mammals, things like acoustic pingers are used on gill nets. They emit sounds that dolphins and porpoises can hear, alerting them to the net's presence so they can avoid it.
Like a little warning signal.
Exactly. And more recently, there's been exciting work with illuminated nets.
Putting lights on fishing nets.
Yeah, small LED lights. It sounds simple, but studies show they can drastically reduce bycatch of both turtles and sharks, possibly because it just makes the nets more visible to them while not affecting the catch of target fish as much.
That's fascinating. So it plays on their different visual ability.
Precisely. It's about finding solutions that work with the differences in biology, not just brute force.
These innovations sound brilliant, really. But what's stopping them from being used everywhere? Is it just cost? Or is it harder than that?
That's a really key point. It's often a mix of things. Cost can certainly be an issue, especially for smaller fishing operations or in developing nations. Rolling these out globally takes investment, it takes political will, and then there's the challenge of making sure the rules are actually followed out at sea. Enforcement and monitoring are tricky.
Right, you need accountability.
Absolutely. And that's where policy and certification become really important. Things like the Marine Stewardship Council, the MSC label you might see on seafood.
Yeah, I've seen that blue tick.
Right. Or dolphin-safe labels on tuna. These help consumers like you choose products from fisheries that are trying to do better. It creates market pressure.
So consumer choice makes a difference.
It really can. Plus, observer programs having people physically on boats to record bycatch, and now increasingly electronic monitoring with cameras, they all help increase accountability. And we're also seeing more international cooperation, treaties trying to tackle this problem together. It's not just one solution, it's really about layering lots of different approaches.
That makes sense. It's a complex problem, so it needs a complex set of solutions.
Oh.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the gear, the victims, the impacts, the potential fixes. But bringing it back to our listener, what can you actually do? Especially if you live nowhere near the ocean. You can feel a bit distant, maybe overwhelming.
Yeah, it can feel that way, but your choices absolutely matter no matter where you live. First off, you can actively support sustainable seafood choices. When you're buying fish, look for those labels we talked about, like the MSC certification. It's a direct way to support better practices.
Okay, so look for the label.
Yep. And consciously avoid products that drive unsustainable fishing, like shark fin soup or other items made from vulnerable marine species. It reduces the demand.
Makes sense. What else?
Raise awareness. Honestly, just talking about this, sharing reliable, science-based information like what we've discussed today with people you know, it makes a difference. Many people just aren't aware of the scale of bycatch.
Yeah, just starting the conversation.
Exactly. And finally, if you can, consider supporting conservation groups. There are many organizations working really hard on the ground, advocating for better fishing policies, developing solutions, and protecting marine wildlife. They need support to keep doing that vital work.
Right, so choose sustainable seafood, avoid harmful products, talk about it, and support the groups doing the work. Those feel like concrete actions. This whole deep dive, it really does highlight how connected everything is, doesn't it? What happens way out in the ocean has ripple effects everywhere.
It truly does. And understanding these connections, these complex issues, that's really the crucial first step. Knowing about the problem is what empowers us all to be part of the solution.
And remember, the information we've drawn on today comes from all sorts of experts. Marine biologists, people studying fisheries, even AI specialists who are finding new ways to track and reduce bycatch using technology. They're essentially giving a voice to these marine animals that can't speak for themselves, turning data into action.
Which kind of leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? If this combination of technology, better policies, and just informed choices by people like you can make such a difference for a huge, complex problem like bycatch, well, what other big environmental challenges could we tackle if we applied that same kind of focused, collaborative innovation? The ocean really does need allies now more than ever. It needs more than just observers.